My most precious belonging is my blanket. I'm 7 years old, and this is a very special blanket. At one point, it had beautiful pink and blue and yellow threads, but at this point, they've all blended to this perfect sort of tan. And it has a fringe along the edge, and at night, when I hold my blanket, as I fall asleep, I hold the edge and I shred pieces of the blanket off, so that I wake in the morning holding little threads from my blanket. My blanket is now hourglass shaped because I seem to be taking it from the middle. I hold on to these threads though, and my stuffed animal Princess, who's a dog and oddly male, don't know why, I'm 7, and I take the threads and I ball them up and I put them inside Princess's mouth. This is her special role. She holds these threads. Then I'm convinced that one day when I learn to weave, I will reconstitute Blanky. He trusts me and I know that that is my job. Blanky goes everywhere with me, which is getting embarrassing because I'm 7. And he is with me now in Rochester, New York, where we are visiting my Bubby and Zadie, my grandparents, my father's parents. I need Blanky with me here because it's stressful visiting my Bubby and Zadie. My mother doesn't like them. They're my father's parents. They don't seem to like my mother. They don't actually seem to like each other very much either. They have separate bedrooms. And one of the things that we do when we go, my sisters and I, we take turns sleeping in Bubby's room in one of the twin beds. Because otherwise we're going to sleep in the basement with each other and my parents. Sleeping with Bubby is not the win. And so I know I'll bring my blankie up because I've drawn the short stick on this one. But we're having dinner, and we're having mushroom barley soup, which is Zadie's specialty. I love it. My older sister Lisa, not so much. Zadie doesn't see well. He's in his late 80s. And he makes this soup, we have been told, is a sign of love. He can't really show it other ways, but he shows his love with food. So he's very invested in how much you eat. Rachel, are you enjoying your soup? And I hold up my empty bowl and I say, yes, Zadie, this is my 5th helping. Because I've learned that what you do is you take however many bowls you've had, you double it and add 1. Now, Lisa doesn't like the soup, and she knows he's about to ask her, and she looks desperately at my mother, who says, okay, okay. And she turns over her empty bowl of soup and gives it to Lisa, and takes Lisa's full bowl. And Zadie says, Lisa, you eating your soup? And she holds up the empty bowl. She says, yes, Zadie, I just finished my bowl. She doesn't know the trick. And my father, being helpful, points at my mother's now full bowl and says, Nancy hasn't eaten hers, though. At this moment, my mother doesn't like him very much either. Bubby begins to wash the dishes, because that's the next 2 hours that will take place. She does things very slowly. This also frustrates my mother. And I go downstairs in the basement to get Blanky to go up to bed. But as I'm going through my Bubby and Zadie's living room, Zadie catches sight of me. He says, what's that? He's Blanky. You're too old to have that. I love him. If you keep that blanket, I won't love you. less at this moment. And she takes me over to Bubby's room, and she tells me that Zadie doesn't mean it. This is just how he shows love. And I'm thinking I prefer the soup. But I take Blanky and I hold him that night, and I just, I fall asleep shredding, desperately shredding, and feeling like I need to belong. Fast forward 2 years, I'm 9, and I'm still sleeping with Blanky, and this is starting to get to be a problem. Because I go on overnights, and your friends, you don't want them to know, so I'm stuffing Blanky in the bottom of my sleeping bag, and it's just not a good thing. I know it's not a good thing, and there's this stuffed animal I really want. It's a popple, which is this thing in the 80s, and it was like white, and it turned from some sort of creature into a ball. You could turn it inside out. I don't know, this seemed like desperately I wanted this. And so I made a deal with my mother. If I gave up the blanket, I could get a popple, which seemed like a great idea until I had the popple and I couldn't hold him and snuggle him and shred him. And so I made this very large show of taking the remains of Blanky, because he's getting more and more narrow at this point, and folding him up and putting him up into the closet at night. I say, okay, there he is. I'm done with Blanky forever, with this whole sort of ceremony. And then every night after my mom tucks me into bed, I go back to the closet, take Blanky down. I snuggle Blanky, I shred Blanky. I'm no longer saving the pieces because at this point I know I'm never going to leave. And then in the morning I wake up before my sisters, and I take Blanky and I fold Blanky back up and I put him back in the closet, and I do this for months. And one morning I just oversleep. And Blanky's at the bottom of the bed, tucked in there, and Blanky's pretty gross now. I mean, looks pretty much like a rag. And so when the cleaning guy, Mr. Lamont, comes, he thinks Blanky's a rag, and he throws him out. And I can't say anything because I'm not supposed to have Blanky anymore. We had a whole ceremony, and I have the disappointing popple to prove it. And so I lose this very precious thing, my security blanket, the thing that makes me feel safe. Fast forward 20 years. I have a child now, and he has a security object. It's not a blanket, it's a flamingo. It's a stuffed flamingo. He actually has 3 of them. He doesn't realize it, we're rotating them. And we need to rotate them because as he falls asleep, he has this habit where he shreds them. They all have Nate pattern baldness. And as he's holding his fingo and he's falling asleep with his most precious belonging, I have this deep, wonderful feeling